Hey guys, and welcome back to FTB Interactions. Last episode we set up our P2P system with our ME controllers. We also set up our polyethylene and polyvinyl chloride setups again, which was previously over there. So we're actually almost at the point where we can tear all of these machines out. The next setup I'd like to figure out here is the epoxy setup. So our epoxy setup here is currently kind of mixed in with our fuel system. But this is the chemical reactor right here making epoxy. And currently the way we're getting epoxy is by mixing naphtha, epichlorohydrin and nitrogen dioxide. And I would like to switch over to this recipe here to use the still epichlorohydrin, except we're going to use bisphenol A and sodium hydroxide dust. The sodium hydroxide is already being produced by our saltwater electrolysis, so that's that out of the way. The epichlorohydrin we're going to obviously rebuild, but we're still going to make it the same way using the hydrochloric and glycerol. So that just leaves the bisphenol A, which we're going to get from hydrochloric, acetone and phenol. So obviously we're going to need somewhere to build this setup, so I was thinking that... oh hello. So I was thinking that we build another room off to the left hand side here. And I've marked out the entranceway. Just behind this multi-smith. Obviously this is not going to be here. We'll have a hallway that goes this way for one chunk probably, and then we'll have our setups on the left. And then there'll be a main pathway that goes through the middle of this room and then also connects up through there. And obviously we'll remove these steam machines later on. So right now let's do a bit of building and figure out how this new room is going to be. Okay, I think this new platform gives us enough space to start with our epoxy, and we're going to put it on this wall right here. So we're obviously going to need a handful of machines. The first one is a crafter. We will also need a fluid transposer, also a chemical reactor, and 2 distilleries. I'm sure I'm missing something, but we'll find out soon enough. So the first step is to make our seed oil. So we have a canola chicken on top of a fluid transposer. This gives us seed oil, which we're going to input to this chemical reactor. And then above that, we're going to have a chemical reactor with gassy enriched eggs to make us oxygen. And we're trying to make methanol next, which we're going to make by combining hydrogen, oxygen and carbon. The oxygen we're making on site here, and the carbon and the hydrogen we're going to pull from our ME system. So let's now hook those up. We do have channels here, but I'm thinking we take a fresh P2P for the setup. Or, on second thought, we're only using 2 channels right here. So let's just take from this one. I think we'll only need another 2. So we're going to want storage buses on our sodium hydroxide. We're going to set this to high priority. And we'll also want one on our carbon dust here. So where's the best place to put this? Probably behind. And let's actually hook up some power here just so that we can get this system going. So I think what we'll do is just piggyback off this power system right here, and we'll just plug it in. I did add another diesel generator up there. So now this guy's making us oxygen, and then we just need hydrogen and carbon in here. So for the hydrogen, we're going to ask for it from the fluid interface. Like so. Is this plugged in? No, this has to be connected still. So then we're going to put a pump on here for inserting the hydrogen. And all we're missing now is carbon dust, which we can ask for from this interface right here. We'll set this to 64. Let's move this interface over, and instead we'll put it right here. There, so now this is getting us carbon dust and methanol, which we're going to output to the bottom. And all we're missing here is our tiny piles of sodium hydroxide. So we're also going to ask for sodium hydroxide here. And then we'll input this to a crafter to uncraft it into tiny piles. I'm going to also stick some filters on these conduits just to make sure that the machines don't get jammed. So now I've set up a fluid conduit to send the biodiesel back into our fluid interface for storage. And the glycerol we're going to chemical react here. And to do that, we're just going to pull the glycerol straight from here with the fluid conduit. Actually, we don't need to have this connected. Just the fluid conduit connected. And then we're going to ask for hydrochloric from our system here. And then I've just set some fluid filters on the input here. We'll just give this some power, and this should be our epichlorohydrin. So the water we're going to just put in a trash can here with, wait, I don't want to trash it first. I think it sets it to output, so I want to make sure the filter's set first. So we're going to filter this for water, and then put the trash can down. That should get rid of all the water in here. And then the epichlorohydrin is going to go up. And this has to be mixed with sodium hydroxide, which conveniently we're already asking for here. So we can just set the import here with an item filter for sodium hydroxide. And all that's missing is bisphenol A. This is a little bit more complicated as we need to make both phenol and acetone. The hydrochloric we already have. So you might recall that we're actually using acetone as part of our fuel setup to make ethanol. So we may have to increase production, as that is currently actually a bottleneck in our fuel production here. As you can see, we don't have that much ethanol. So I was going to steal from the same source of acetone, which is by distilling wood vinegar. However, I did notice this recipe for phenol, which is cumene oxygen, which gives us both acetone and phenol that we need. That does require us to make cumene though, and this might be a little bit more of a rabbit hole. However, it will give us useful byproducts that we'll be using later down the line. And I also want to try this route, as I didn't do this in Omnifactory. I avoided this like the plague. So I think I kind of want to try and tackle this head on. It might take me a bit to get figured out, but I think I'll do it all off camera, to be honest. Just to briefly go over this, we need propene, benzene and phosphoric acid. The propene and benzene we're going to get from distilling refinery gas here. Or, wait a sec. We're going to be steam cracking both light and heavy fuel and running those through distillation towers to give us all of these fluid outputs. It's going to be a lot to figure out here, so I'm going to do it a little bit off camera and I'll come back when I have something to show, I think. Alright, and we are back. It's actually the next day for me. I've spent many hours on this actually. Got a bit carried away, as you can see. I know it looks like a lot, but some of this I did actually just move over from right there. So a lot of it is something we've seen before, which is why I didn't show it. And plus I did attempt to build it well and explain at the same time, but that didn't go so well. So this is our mineral setup for crystallized canola. This is all stuff we've seen before. And this ultimately gets us empowered oil, which we're distilling. That distillation tower used to be over there. So this is all the same process. And I think I mentioned in the last clip that we would be distilling light and heavy fuel. We're actually not. We're still distilling just naphtha, which is what this is. And then that gets processed into naphtha here, where it gets steam cracked. We just have a fluid heater making steam. This is just a hydrogen sulfide byproduct, which gives us sulfur, which we actually use later on. I'll explain that. The steam cracked naphtha goes into this interface where it's pulled out by this distillation tower. So this distillation tower will steam crack our naphtha and give us all of these outputs. So we get carbon dust, we get heavy fuel, light fuel, toluene, which we'll be using later, benzene, which we are using right now. Yeah, pretty much all of this is useful. So I just have all of that going into our ME system right here. I did partition a few drives, but I'm not actually sure what we should do about that. It also gives us tiny piles of carbon right here. But the two fluids we are interested in from this distillation process at the moment is benzene and propene. We need 8 buckets each to make our cumene. So that's what the end of this line here is for. And the benzene and propene is sent into this fluid interface. Actually, it looks like we have an issue with hydrochloric backing up here. I'll deal with that in a second. But the propene and benzene are mixed with phosphoric acid, which we're getting from these two chemical reactors on the bottom here. This phosphoric acid took me a little bit to actually decide how we were going to make. There's a couple of ways to do this. I haven't seen these recipes before, where we have, I think these are custom to the pack. These are blood shards, which we get from dense ore. So we might end up switching to this layer, but for now I'm just using apatite dust. So this is an input. We have to input apatite for this to work. And then we're combining that with sulfuric acid and water. And the sulfuric acid we're making here with our sulfur, which remember I said we're getting from right here. And we can also supplement that with DML production of sulfur. So the sulfuric acid gets sent from this chemical reactor along to the right. where it gets mixed with our apatite, which comes from this interface. I have some item conduits underneath to give it apatite dust. The hydrochloric is going into this fluid interface, and it looks like I need to do something about that actually because it's backing up. So the hydrochloric gets sent into our system, and the phosphoric acid goes up one, where it gets mixed with the benzene and propene from the distillation tower. This gives us our cumene, which goes along to the left one, which gets mixed with oxygen. The oxygen I'm taking from this fluid interface again, just with a fluid filter on here. And when we mix oxygen and cumene, that gives us phenol and acetone, which goes along left one more. And this gets mixed with more hydrochloric acid, and that gives us our bisphenol A, which goes up and to the left one, which gets mixed with the epichlorohydrin and sodium hydroxide. And now we have epoxy resin again. So I know that was a lot of chemistry, and yeah, it was a lot for me as well. So the epoxy we're going to split two ways. We're going to fiber reinforce it with either glass fibers or carbon fibers. I haven't decided yet, but that's for later on. This is for the next tier of circuits. But we also have to fluid solidify to the sheets. So I think I'll do that over here, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. There's some cleanup here to do, especially with the hydrochloric. We have to do something about that. But yeah, I wanted to ask your opinion. For those who have used these fluid storage drives before, what the best option to do is. Like, is it better just to do one fluid per drive and just use one case? Because the way I have these, I'll show you, I partition multiple storages in this 16K. And this we got from a dungeon, by the way. But I'm thinking it might be better just to use one case and just dedicate one fluid per drive. I'm actually not sure about that. That might change. So let me know if you have any suggestions on that. So I think what the problem is with this fluid interface is it wasn't actually getting enough channels. So I did rewire the wiring down here for the applied energistics, and I've hooked it up such that it's all connected to the dense cable. I have some cable anchors right here to stop these two lines connecting. And at the end of the line here where the P2P meets, we are using 15 channels, so we still have quite a bit of headroom. But it's just that some of the lines were crossed and we were going above our 8 channel limit. So the next thing I'd like to get moved over is our diesel setup. We're currently making our cetane and then mixing that to make infused Nitro-Diesel, which we're powering the whole base with. So I do have to be kind of careful here. I don't want to end up with a situation like yesterday. So I'm thinking that we build this right here. It's actually only going to be a couple of chemical reactors. I will have to move over our, what is this, tetranitromethane setup. And then it'll just be 2 mixers and a chemical reactor to make our infused Nitro-Diesel. So yeah, that's going to be built right here, and I was counting this out, and I think I've built this distillation tower 1 block off. So I think I'll have to move that all one to the right. So I'll do that at some point, but first of all, let's get our infused Nitro-Diesel moved over here. So the start of this process, we need all 3 of the basic GregTech chemicals, which is oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen. And I think eventually I want to set up like a... Maybe we'll use this little space around here, like just tuck it in a little corner, and we'll have dedicated fast machines for all 3 of those chemicals. But since we have these MV chemical reactors, I think I might just use these for this setup. And later on, if it turns out we need more, we can just import more from our ME system. So I snagged some of these diesel generators, the MV ones from over there. I'm going to put a battery in here, or a battery buffer I mean. And we're going to make these into oxygen, hydrogen. I think 3 is hydrogen, right? No, we need config 2 for nitrogen. I actually do really like these chickens for this specific purpose in the chemical reactors, because even though these, like in Omnifactory, these fluids were really plentiful, having this egg recipe is actually super convenient for things like this. So anyways, now that we have those 3, we have to make our nitric acid again. And there is a HV recipe that I wasn't using before. This one here, which we can just directly combine these 3. We don't have to make the carbon or nitrogen dioxide. I think it was this one before I was using, which requires water. But we'll switch over to using this one. Actually, that's a lot more energy efficient or inefficient. Yeah, that actually doesn't seem worth it, does it? To do this recipe instead of this one. Because it's longer, it takes more energy, and we have to deal with the water output. But I guess this step is the extra chemical reactor. So maybe it works out actually, considering this cost for this recipe here. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to do this recipe here. I might change it in the future. So this is going to go into chemical reactor at HV right here. We'll have to be careful not to mix these lines. But this needs circuit 24, and then we'll use fluid conduit for this. So I've just put in a battery here just to get this guy going, but this guy's going to give us our nitric acid, which we have to then mix with the ethanone, and this is going to come from our distillation tower up next to our tree farm. So we're currently sending the ethanone using this fluid transfer node. So we're going to reset this GPS marker, and instead we're going to mark it for this chemical reactor. So now this guy's receiving our ethanone, we have to also deal with the output of this chemical reactor. So for that I'm going to use 2 pumps. We're going to use one to output the nitric acid. I hope that didn't export the wrong fluid there. No, okay, we're good. The water we want to just trash, so I'm going to just take that out on... Actually, we can save a pump here. Let's just put the trash can in the floor, and then we can just export using the fluid conduits, and we'll filter this for water. And actually, this recipe here also gives us a water byproduct, which we'll want to throw out. So let's hook up this conduit just the same here, just to share the same trash can. So now we have to move these 2 mixers here, but I really don't want to trash all this tetranitromethane that's in here. So I'm going to take it with me, and also, I guess that, yeah, we want to keep all 3 of these fluids, so I'll make some more steel drums to hold this in. Or actually, there's some here that are empty, we can use these. Yeah, this is all going to get torn down anyway. So we'll take the diesel. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Where's that getting diesel from? Oh, I bet you that's that fluid transfer node over there. So the output of this chemical reactor has to be split 2 ways. And so now these mixers need both regular diesel and biodiesel. And instead of using those fluid transfer nodes, I think we'll use the ME system, as we're getting diesel out from this distillation tower here. And in fact, it stopped running because the output hatch is full. So this diesel we're going to swap out to send into a fluid interface, and then we're going to pump it out on this side into these mixers, which means I think we'll need some more channels down here. Yeah, let's set up another P2P from right here, and I don't have any more dense cable right now, so I'm just going to use this one and hook it up right here. And doing this means we'll need to partition another fluid cell for diesel. I don't think we have that partitioned yet. So let's do that. And it looks like these things are filling up. Yeah, I really have to find a solution for that. So then that means we can swap this fluid transfer node out. In fact, we can just put it directly on the port here. We can put a fluid interface right here, and we have to plug that in. Hopefully we have still enough channels here. And we'll get some ME conduit to be able to share the block space here. So all of this diesel should disappear once this establishes a channel. I hope. Yep, there we go. So that clears the backlog of this distillation tower, and this will keep running. And that also means we can put a interface right here for diesel. And also we want biodiesel here. And then it doesn't actually matter which one we put these in. I guess I've already put the tank of diesel on this one, so we'll filter this for regular diesel. And this one for biodiesel. And this isn't getting any... Are we plugged in? Are we online here? Oh, I forgot the P2P channel. Alright, that would help. Then we'll need to find a free P2P channel here. So we're going to link this. And right click the other side. This should give it a channel. There we go, device online. So now this should start filling with diesel. Which it is. This is working very nice. The only issue is power. And I really don't know what to do about power. This is a very difficult issue to solve in this pack, is how to get the GregTech power everywhere. Especially when you're designing the base like this, where you have like different setups and we don't just have one long row of machines. But anyways, this gives us our cetane, which then we have one more chemical reactor to mix it with lithium and liquid starlight. So I got the liquids hooked up for this. All that we're missing in here is tiny piles of lithium, which I have put on the interface here with a item conduit going into the right hand side of that chemical reactor. We do need a storage bus on our lithium though, so we are producing lithium from electrolyzing salt, and that gives us liquid lithium which we're centrifuging. So all we have to do is stick a storage bus on this and it should automatically import into that chemical reactor. Where do I want to put this? I guess we'll put it underneath, it'll be cleaner. And we'll set high priority here. And yeah, we now see that this is making our cetane, which I have decided to buffer into a quantum tank before we put it in our ME system. So I'm not actually sure how much this quantum tank holds. 640 buckets, is that right? Or is it 64 million millibuckets? I don't know, it's a lot anyway. We got one of these from the moon dungeon. So yeah, that's going to be our fuel backup from now. Then I'm going to move the ender tank here, which supplies all of our diesel generators around the base. Wait, can we not wrench these? I thought you could have wrenched ender tanks. Anyways, we're just going to connect this straight up to our quantum tank here. And yeah, I think that's going to be our new infused nitro-diesel setup. This gives us a huge buffer to work with. And this should be fast enough with these MV machines here still. But I will have to do something about the power back here. And so now we can give this a nice frame even. Put all our facades on. Aha, this is looking much nicer like this. I still have to move this distillation tower, but I think I'll do that later on. So now to finish off today, let's start cleaning up all of this spaghetti here. Alright, so I would say this is looking a lot better than what it was. There's still a bit of cleanup to do, but so I'll probably end up doing that off camera, but yeah, as you can see, we got most of the stuff removed. This stuff's still here because this is part of my manual machines. I still use these from time to time when I'm crafting up some circuit boards, and yeah, we have circuit boards here, arc furnace for wrought iron. I think next episode we're going to look into automating all this stuff now that we have AE2. And then of course all the LV machines. I do still use one or two of these, so I'm just going to leave them at the moment. They're kind of tucked away. But hopefully by next episode we can get to a point where we can remove all of these. But yeah, I'm really happy that I got some of these projects finished, like getting our diesel in a good spot here. Setting up this distillation tower, which I still have to move actually. But yeah, all of this chemistry is going to set us up nice for the future. It's going to give us a lot of resources that we don't have to go back for. We're just going to have them there waiting for us, which is going to be nice. But yeah, I think this is a good time to wrap up this episode. I have to sort through all of these chests that I have lying about and clean up the rest of the stuff here. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more FTB interactions.